rebuilding. The catastrophic failure, a new start, physically, mentally, our careers, our businesses. Step back, first step, next step. The driver in me just wants to get it done tomorrow. We'll do this, do that, let's move this, where are we at with this? You build some confidence, build some self-esteem, start to feel better about yourself. The Silverback Blueprint Podcast, a show for men over 40 who focus on getting stronger, staying motivated, building discipline, creating a community, and becoming truly happy. Welcome to episode 186 of the Silverback Blueprint Podcast. Take on the habits of the person you want to become. So recently, I've been working a lot on that bodybuilding transition, losing a bunch of weight. It's going very well. So much so that people are reaching out and want me to help them, want to know what I'm doing. And so I've begun to do more work with people on their nutrition. I keep it very simple. The first three steps that I have for everybody is simple. Get up, weigh in before you eat or drink, and then prepare your meals for the day. That's really the three steps that I find make the biggest difference in the progress and what you're going to have happen. And what's quickly becoming apparent is people struggle with the habits and the changes that they have to do. And I think there's I don't know if I want to use the word disconnect or a misunderstanding for people that want to make changes. And, now that I'm doing what I'm doing, it's clearer and I get it. It's really about taking on the habits of the person you want to become. So if you want to make changes in any aspect of your life, the physical, the mental, the emotional, relationship, financial, your physique, your health, you have to look at what habits are necessary, what rituals, what routines, what are those that are necessary to create those changes, to become that person you want to become. And I think that's going to be the hurdle for most people is I think inherently we think we can change a couple of things and all of a sudden things are just going to change. The wide sweeping changes are going to happen. And unfortunately that doesn't happen. We are the sum total of our habits, how we look, how we feel, what we drive, where we live, who our friends are, what our family's like, is a sum total of our daily habits. What we do day in, day out on a consistent basis, how we think day in, day out on a consistent basis is what creates our reality. And I think that's the one thing that people have to really start to embrace. And I know even for myself, I'm 90% the same guy I was 6 months ago. I'm 90% the same guy I was 12, 13 weeks ago when I started my bodybuilding weight loss journey. However, I have had to make some specific, and I don't want to use the word serious, but meaningful habit changes. And that's where the results are really coming from. You can have the best diet in the world. You can have the best workout routine in the world. You can have the best car in the world. You can have the best of everything. But changing our habits and what we do day in, day out, how we think, how we approach things, what we do systematically is the only thing that's going to make the changes that we want to go after. All too often we get caught up in if I just had this pair of shoes, if I just had this computer, if I just had this phone, then all my problems would go away. My life would suddenly be better. And then with consumerism, in sales, that's really how we're being sold things. We're being sold things on an emotional level, right? We find out what the problem is, we agitate the problem, and then we sell the solution. According to the Coors Light and Bud Light commercials, I should be spending nothing but weekends at barbecues with hot women all over, right? Because that's the commercials they portray. Everyone's having fun. Everyone's, flying around in speedboats and water skiing and having great campfires and everyone's beautiful, right? But guys, that's not the reality of it, But that's what we're being sold. We're being sold that image. We're being sold that happiness. So part of our subconscious, gets programmed saying, you know what, if I drink this, I'll be happier. I'll have more party. If I eat this, if I have this, if I wear this, if I drive this, all these other things are going to come with it. But that's really not how it happens. That's not how it works. That's the big lie. It's the lie. And I don't want to blame companies, because at the end of the day, they're just taking advantage of the lie we tell ourselves. If only I had this, I'd be able to do this. If only I would have been born in a different situation, I'd have been able to do a different thing. And we use that as an excuse. I think we use that as, there's something out there that we don't have. That's what's stopping us from becoming the person we want to be. And that's not it. A long time ago, someone told me, to become something, right? It's not so much in what we do, but it's what we be. We need to be the person we want to be. So if we want to be more productive, we have to do things that a productive person does. What we focus on is what we achieve. So at the end of the day, if you think buying this nutrition plan or buying this workout plan or buying these shoes is magically going to change all the things that you're doing that go against the results that you want, that's where you're mistaken. That's where the problem is. That's where the huge disconnect is. I wonder how many of us really don't know that. And I wonder how many of us actually do know it, but we kind of fool ourselves. We kind of lie to ourselves about it. I've often said the cool thing I like about bodybuilding, the thing I respect the most, is that attention to detail to the nutrition, and how somehow I just couldn't do that. And, if only I could, then I'd be able to do it. So I was really right in a lot of those things, because it is the attention to detail. It is the attention to nutrition. But the belief that I couldn't do it, that's where I was wrong. What I'm doing right now is simply following those things that a bodybuilder has to do. I'm following the steps, the daily habits that someone who wants to change their physique does. So that means certain things happen. Those first 3 steps, I get up, I weigh in. Now I fast, so I weigh in later on in the day. But the key point here is I do it consistently at the same time all the time. I prepare my meals. I have my food ready. If I go up to my fridge now, 13 weeks now we're into it, in my fridge, there's chicken ready, there's rice ready, there's vegetables ready. Before I leave the house to go to do my shift at the gym, where I work around 1 o'clock, I prepare my 3 meals. They're in containers and they're in a bag, and I walk out of the house with them and I put them in the fridge at the gym. And I have my first meal right after I weigh in. I have consistently done that for going into 13 weeks now, every day, Saturday and Sunday. If I'm home Saturday, I do the same thing. I prepare my 3 meals around lunchtime, 12:30. I weigh in at 1. I have my first meal. It's those habits that I have created, that I follow diligently, that have resulted in losing, at this point, the time of this recording, close to 70 pounds, going into my 13th week of doing this. This is coming out in April 11th, so probably another month from now. So that, the weight loss will be lower, significant. But subconsciously, deep down, when I sat down and I took a minute, I knew that if I took these steps, this thing would happen. I knew that if I followed consistently and changed my habits, the coach in me knew damn well this would be the result. When I decided that this was going to be the year I'm switching to bodybuilding, and that I was going to lose 155 pounds in 11 months, once I decided I was going to do that, I knew what steps had to be put into place, and I knew the challenge was going to be, the focus had to be to do those steps every day. And not hate having to do them, not dreading them, not letting myself have that mindset, but the opposite, look forward to it, knowing that, hey, listen, when I'm preparing a batch of chicken, I'm preparing results. When I'm sitting there and I'm making sure I pick up enough egg whites and tuna and rice at 10:30 at night at Walmart before they close, I know I'm preparing for results. I no longer look at it as like, shit, I have to go to the store. It's late. I'm tired. It's cold. I changed it around to, hey, I got to get over there so I can make sure I have these things so I can continue to have the success and move towards the goal that I have set for myself. Those of you that listen to my podcast and read the stuff I do and stuff, I'm a positive guy. I'm always talking about doing things and moving forward and celebrating the victories. So I've always known this, but it's in the habitual application of this process that I am reaping those benefits. I've always said is that when you start to feel better mentally and you start to feel better physically, things in your life change. I can point to many instances in the 13 weeks how things have improved in other areas of my life. Because I am improving. I'm getting better, fitter, tougher, more confident, higher self-esteem. Success breeds more success. It doesn't mean that I'm not running into roadblocks on a daily, weekly basis. You don't have a business and not run into roadblocks. Doesn't mean I don't run into a tough situation with a relationship. Far from it. In fact, as we move forward and go forward and we grow, we'll run into things like that more often. But my capacity to handle them is increasing because I feel better. I feel empowered to do it. Every day, someone is reaching out to me now, wanting to talk to me about training, nutrition. There's a direct impact in my business and in my bottom line because of the success that I am experiencing, because I am making the changes. Now, I still have a lot to do. Far from perfect. I still have a lot of fires to put out. I still have a lot of things I want to do, I want to achieve. I have a renewed passion for these things because I feel better, because I feel strong and capable. But it's because of the habit change, the focus on the new habits. I know who I want to become. So what I try to do is I try to envision what that ideal version of myself, what that person does on a daily basis. Not just what they eat, where do they go? What kind of conversations do they have? Who do they talk to? How do they talk to people? It's my mission to improve myself so that I can help and improve other people. It's my purpose. I've always believed that, but I feel now I'm in a much better position to do it because I'm doing it. I'm doing it to a higher level for myself than I've ever done before. So I feel that I'm in a better position to help other people. In fact, I feel that I'm in a more deserving position to help other people because I'm doing it at a higher level. We talked earlier, many episodes and on different occasions, about the imposter syndrome. The more successful you become, the more times you'll run into the imposter syndrome, where sometimes you'll just catch yourself thinking stuff like, who am I to be doing this? Who am I to be telling people how to do certain things? Who am I to have this success? We feel sometimes that we're like an imposter, like we don't deserve it. And it's just strange and it's funny, and I'd like to explore that further down the line as to why the more successful we become and as we move further towards our goals, why we tend to run into this more often. Because you think it would be the opposite. You think it would be the more you succeed, the more you do, the less that would enter into your brain. But if you do reading on the imposter syndrome and talk to people about the imposter syndrome, it happens more often as we become more evolved. I'd like to look into that a little further. I'd like to get more deep into that aspect of things. But it's the habits, changing the habits. You want to be like, you see someone that you want to be. We talked earlier about mirroring and mentoring and stuff. Anthony Robbins talks about it all the time. You know, find out what successful people are doing in the areas you want to be successful, right? And then just match their habits. Do what they do. He's got a term for it. It escapes me now that he calls it, right? You don't necessarily have to totally understand the process at first. But if you read about successful people and 82% of them get up at 5 a.m, start getting up at 5 a.m. and see what that's all about. If you look at successful people or you look at people that you want to become and you see things like, you know what, they're healthier, they're fitter, then start becoming healthier and fitter. Don't wait till you have all the answers, because you won't have all the answers, but just start to do, pattern yourself, mimic what they do. And as you do it, more knowledge will open up, more things will unfold. It's the habits that we do, the things that we do day in, day out on a consistent basis. Some of my clients are struggling with the consistency. They do well Monday to Friday, but they get to the weekend and then all of a sudden they feel like they can't control it. Well, for a lot of people, there's more structure early in the week. We get up, we have to go to work, come back, we have things to do. There's more borders and boundaries that we have to operate in. And then sometimes when we get to the weekend, there isn't that structure. So people struggle with that. I get comments like, well, do I have to eat like this on the weekend? If you want to make the changes and you have a significant change to make, then yes. Right? If you sit there and you have progress for 5 days of the week, I'll tell you right now, you can undo all that progress in 2 days, especially at first. So that's why if we look at changing our habits and how we do things daily, it's not dependent on the day of the week. It's what we do every day on a consistent basis. You can still get up at a certain time. You can still do your weigh-ins at a certain time. You can still food prep and do your meal prep. If you get up 2 hours later on a Saturday, just do it all then when you get up. But still do it. And if you sit there and you start to get some results and then you undo it on Saturday and Sunday, that's a habit that you're creating. And that pattern of habits will have a certain result. So your weigh-in on Monday is not going to be great. I have some people that don't understand it. I weighed in Friday. I was down 3 pounds for the week. Saturday, Sunday comes along. I weigh in on Monday and I'm up a pound overall, or I'm only down half a pound overall. Well, it's not an accident and it's not magic. It's because the habits you had on the weekend were counterproductive to what your goals and your objectives are. It's that simple. Then we run into arguments where we're like, well, yeah, but I want to enjoy myself and I want to have this and I want to have that. And I'm like, that's fine. But then understand that's going to create a different reality for your body, a different reality for your mind, and a different reality for you. It doesn't matter what you want on the weekend. It's going to have an effect overall for what you're trying to do. So if you truly want to make changes, if you truly want to lose 50 pounds, then you got to make those habit changes every day of the week. I have one client that's struggling with it, and I said, listen, for 6 weeks, follow it. Do it. It works. And after 6 weeks, and if you've lost 15 pounds or 20 pounds or whatever the goals we set for them, I'm fine with you going out on a Saturday and celebrating it. But you know what? After 6 weeks and losing all that weight, I think you have something really, truly special to celebrate. But then I want you to pay close attention to the scale the next day. In fact, the next couple of days. What was that cost of that celebration? And then you decide, was it worth it to undo 6 weeks of work, lose 15 pounds, have a huge celebration on a Saturday and find out that you put 7 pounds back on? Now you got to work hard for 2 weeks to take it back off, or a week to take it back off. Then you decide, was that worth it? And if you truly believe it's worth it and you're willing to cycle that every 6 weeks and party on the 7th, right? And you do it consistently, in a year, you'll be down 30 pounds overall. It's just not the most efficient way to do it. But if that's the habit you choose, understand that your habits are going to have certain results. And no amount of frustration and anger, and fake ignorance is going to change those things. It's science. It's calories in versus calories out. There's 100 different diets, but if you look at them all, for them, the ones that are effective, there's always a deficit. You always take in a little less than you burn off. It's that simple. That's when a diet works. You can go, it doesn't matter if it's keto or low carb or Atkins or carb manipulation or whatever you call it. If you truly study them and look at them, it comes down to a calorie deficit. People jump from diet to diet because they're trying to find the easy one, the magic one, the one that doesn't make them have to count or weigh things or measure. And there's no diet that's going to be effective that doesn't involve measuring and counting and creating a deficit. There is none. But some people just want to keep chasing that. Marketers want to market that. But at the end of the day, you have to take on the habits that are required to make those changes. And until you decide to do that, to surrender to that process, to become a different person, you have to become a different person. It's that simple. And if anyone tries to tell you anything different, they're wrong. If you try to tell yourself any different, you're going to have that same conversation every month, and you're going to be the same person you were a month ago, 6 months ago, and a year ago. Find the habits to become the person you want to become, and then do those habits religiously. If it's to work out every day, work out every day. Stop telling yourself, stop telling me, stop telling the world you don't have time, because it's bullshit. When I hear someone say they don't have time for something, all I hear is, it's truly not important enough for me. That's what you're really saying. You haven't made it important enough, because if it wasn't important enough, you would fucking find that time. Change your habits, and then you're going to see yourself change. That's all I have to say on that for now, guys. Head on over to iTunes, leave us a positive 5-star review. Head on over to hostilegear.com. Use the code word Silverback to save 25% off on your habit-changing hoodie. And as always, guys, work hard, motherfuckers, and I'll talk to you guys later.